Hello, leader. If you lead a team, you know there are a million moments in a week when someone asks for something and your brain instantly thinks, ugh, not another request. But some of those moments are golden opportunities for you to say yes. Today, I'm sharing 3 small things you should always say yes to because these little yeses have big impact on your culture, morale, and retention. You'll also hear what kind of pushback you might get from your team and how saying yes to these right things can make leading your team so much easier. Welcome to the Stacking Your Team podcast, smart leadership for women who mean business. I'm Shelli Warren, your team and leadership coach, and your no-fluff guide to building a powerhouse team that actually gets the job done without you holding their hand every 5 minutes. You're not just a business owner, you're the leader now, and I'll help you step up, lead smart, and stop micromanaging. Stick with me and you'll learn how to hire, fire, and inspire a team you lead with confidence and finally get your night and weekends back. And here's the hard truth. The team that got you here may not be the team that gets you there. So let's trade burnout for bold leadership and stack your team. Let's start with something that was recently a point of discussion inside the Leadership Lab. Say yes to snacks. Here's why. People perform better when they're not running on empty. Food is community. It's not about granola bars. It's about signaling that you care about their well-being and their experience at work. A recent Peapod survey showed that 67% of people say having food or snacks at work make them feel more valued. Now, could there be any pushback from your team on this one? You might hear comments like, we don't need to spend money on snacks, we're adults. Or you might hear, I'm trying to eat healthy. Please don't test me by bringing in these temptations. Or you might hear, hey, this isn't fair for Judy. She works remotely. And of course, who is going to take care of all these snacks? So here's a few things to think about. Offer a variety of snacks, the healthy kind, the kind that most people on your team would appreciate, and rotate the snacks each month. Invite suggestions so that no one feels left out, and frame it as a wellness and energy investment, not a perk. For remote team members, send quarterly snack boxes or gift cards. And as far as who is going to manage the inventory, purchasing, replenishment, etc., you can have your team leaders rotate this task by quarter, or you can have an admin team person take this on. But the key is to ensure that there is a system to follow with a budget, housekeeping standards for storage, and a tracking tool to see what items were popular and what items were not eaten at all. Included in this could be a simple way to leverage coupons, local vendors, and even seasonal items that would delight the team. You don't need to break the bank on this, especially if you buy in bulk. So what's the key takeaway from this simple yes? Here it is. Snacks are small, but the signal is big. It says, I care about how you feel when you're here. Next up, say yes to a dress code. Now, this is always a hot topic inside the Leadership Lab as well. Here's why. When people feel comfortable in their clothes, it boosts their confidence. And North American data from the Retail Council shows that 82% of customers form an opinion about a business based on the appearance of its team. But here's why I'm such a fan of introducing and then enforcing a dress code. Your brand is at stake. Now, we've all been there when we're interacting with someone at a business and their appearance or their hygiene is a turnoff. It's confusing, to say the least. After all, everyone has preconceived notions about a brand, a customer experience expectation, or simply the type of people you expect will be taking care of you. So when your reality doesn't meet those expectations, it's a break in your brand reputation. This includes workplaces where it's the norm to wear a uniform. Uniforms are great. I love a uniform. It makes it super clear about who works there and who's going to help me. It's a turnoff when the uniform is not clean, pressed, or doesn't fit the person well. I mean, come on, uniforms are expensive, and they can save the team member a ton of money on wardrobe spending, including saving team members on damaging their own clothes depending on what the work entails. Uniforms also offer confidence and comfort to your customers. We've all seen people approaching our homes or businesses in a work van of some type, but when they are wearing a uniform that matches the work vehicle, we're more often ready to open the door and talk to them. So it's not unreasonable to have the expectation that your team members will wear their uniform and that they will take care of it and present themselves well at work while wearing it. Of course, you'd also have a system where uniforms are replaced on a set drumbeat. Another thing about uniforms is that outside of work, uniforms matter too. Everyone sees you wearing it, and therefore your brand and customer expectations are still alive and well after hours, like when you're running to the grocery store on the way home from work. If your workplace and brand requires a different type of professional workwear vibe, I encourage you to set the tone, provide feedback, use photos in your employee manual, and make your dress code policy visual, and list the items that are a definite no-no. Back in my corporate days, there was a strict dress code on t-shirts. No profane language or inappropriate artwork. Also, no shorts, no capris. In addition to the traditional dress code / safety policies on footwear and hair. You know, one of my pet peeves are restaurants that have a strict black and white dress code policy for their team members, yet they allow people to wear workout wear that happens to be black and white. Nothing goes against the grain of your goal to elevate your brand in the eyes of your customers than having them see your servers, shift leaders, and restaurant managers walking around wearing Lululemon tights and t-shirts. I mean, if you're operating a pub, maybe, but if you're offering fine dining, that's not a good look. And here's the truth. What you wear to work matters, not only from your clients' and customers' point of view, but from your extended team's point of view. As the owner of your business, wouldn't you prefer to have everyone see you and your team members as professional, competent, and confident? Of course you would. And that means well-groomed, clothing that is pressed and fits well, and a real positive reflection of your brand and their competence. Now, could there be any pushback from your team? Sure. You might hear some comments like this. Does this mean anything goes as long as the color's right? What if someone shows up wearing something that's not right? Do I have to have different clothing for my client meetings? I work remotely, so this doesn't count for me, right? Or you might hear this. It shouldn't matter what I wear if I do good work. So here are a few things for you to think about. Your role in this is to define professional clear boundaries like no pajamas, no slogans, no ripped jeans, no crop tops, no stains, or no green hair, unless that fits your brand. Model your standards yourself. Show what relaxed yet confident looks like. Use it as a teaching moment about presence and professionalism rather than policing. Remind your team that showing up for work looking sloppy makes people think that you'll be just as sloppy in your role. You know, 2 of my clients provide an annual clothing allowance, as they often hire a branding photographer to create new images each year, including headshots and content for their social media and website. It's important to both of them to have a cohesive brand, and each of them recognize that their team members appreciate the clothing allowance for these sessions. And here's the kicker. Both of these clients hire a consultant to help select the outfits for each team member. A real VIP experience for sure. And having the wardrobe consultant dialed in provides some sound advice on how to build a work wardrobe that doesn't break the bank for each of your team members. Now, of course, the finished product, those branding images, are outstanding, and everyone looked fabulous, even though we know that they're not models and they're not normally getting paid to pose for photos with each other. I've also seen some great branding photos for clients whose teams wear uniforms or clothing we'd consider business casual. It's all about defining what your dress code standards are. Now, here's a few responses that you can consider when talking to your team members about your dress code. This dress code is a requirement. If it doesn't feel right for you, I fully respect that, and I can support you in finding a role or an environment where your personal style fits better. So what's the key takeaway from this simple yes about dress codes? Here it is. A dress code isn't about control, it's about consistency, professionalism, and protecting the promise your brand makes every single day. And if someone cannot uphold that standard, they're free to find a workplace that aligns better with their preferences because your brand reputation is not negotiable. And lastly, say yes to this. Celebrations. Here's why. Recognition drives retention. A recent Work Human study showed that 79% of people who leave their jobs say they left because it's due to a lack of appreciation. Oh my goodness. But celebrations don't need to be confetti and champagne, all-inclusive trips to exotic locations, or fancy night-out gatherings with big budgets. What they do need is for you and your leadership team to offer consistent acknowledgement of your team's efforts and wins. Now, I've got a confession to make here. Many of my clients have shed a tear during their one-to-ones with me over the years because their teams don't appreciate how much effort and money they put into team celebrations, gifts, perks, etc. I too have felt this back in my corporate days when we were embarrassingly dripping in capital for these types of moments. And inevitably, someone would say to me, "Does this come in any other color?" Oy. Entitlement is real, folks, and it's also a sign that lavish celebrations have shifted over into your team culture to be an expectation. And often the expectations just keep getting bigger and bigger. It's that entitlement and massive expectations that really hurts. So I'm here to give you permission to dial back your over-the-top celebrations. Set a budget and stick to it. And consider smaller notions of recognition more regularly rather than those wowzer celebrations that lose their significance because people become too darn complacent about how much these things cost. Now, on the flip side, I have clients who host annual team retreats at really nice places, and it's a mix of celebration, fun, free time, and strategic planning or group problem solving. They've dialed back their holiday gifts and big celebration moments throughout the year, and instead, they've kept their retreat budget set to support the loss of revenue that comes along with shutting the business down to host these team retreats. Their team members appreciate these retreat experiences, and they've come to realize the investment their leader is making in their well-being, sense of belonging, and recognition for a job well done. Now, could there be any pushback from your team on this yes? You betcha. You could hear some things like, "Do we really have time for this? It's awkward when I'm called out. This feels forced or fake. I don't want to socialize outside of work with anyone. Good grief, I'm packing on the pounds since I joined this team." Here are a few things for you to think about. Keep your celebrations small and specific. Something like, "Thank you for staying late to finish that client report," instead of a generic, "Great job, everyone." Build rituals like monthly or quarterly milestone team toasts. Slack kudos instead of a paid meal with all the trimmings. Make it inclusive and rotate who celebrates whom so that your team sees other leaders hosting these moments too. And here's an idea I used to do for when I was hosting large team dinners to celebrate quarterly goals. I'd work with the restaurant to serve tasting platters, so think bite-sized items and a signature mocktail, rather than having everyone order from the menu. This cut down on wait time for food prep and the costs. And let's get real. Although your team likely wants to be there, they appreciate an early night of it. So what's the key takeaway from this simple yes? You don't need a party planner. Although there's likely someone on your team who loves doing these kinds of tasks. You only need the discipline to notice people's effort and call it out, and make this a part of your team culture. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that you have to outdo yourself every time. If every celebration is a doozy, how will your team recognize the difference when something truly outstanding happens? One of my local dental practices shuts the business down for a week every year, and he treats his team and their spouses to an all-inclusive trip to somewhere hot and sunny, creating an escape from the winter. Now, you guessed it, they don't do any lavish celebrations throughout the year beyond a potluck-style results review or like a mini years of service celebration right before the trip. Let's recap. I know you get asked frequently to do this and give that, and can we have this, and we should really do more of this. And I also get it that you can suddenly find yourself saying yes to every request, every idea, every. And before you know it, nothing feels special at all. Everything feels like autopilot. And you start to go the extra mile for each gathering, getting closer and closer to spending way too much money on celebrations. And now you're resentful about it, especially if your team doesn't say thank you. So today, I hope I've given you a few things to consider to say yes to so that you make a big impact to your team culture, but it feels easy to start and easy to maintain. So here are those 3 times yes is the right answer. Say yes to snacks. It's a simple way to show your team you value their energy and well-being, which pays off in stronger morale and better performance. Say yes to introducing a dress code that communicates to everyone, all your clients and customers, who you are before anyone even has to say a word. Setting and then upholding a dress code will directly impact your revenues, your profits, and your overall team culture. And say yes to team celebrations. Recognize progress, not just perfection. It demonstrates to your team that you're watching, noticing what they're doing and what they're up against as they lean into delivering results. As a leader, your job isn't to say yes to everything. It's to know which yeses matter the most. These 3 are simple, can be affordable, and will have a high impact. When your team feels seen, comfortable, and celebrated, they'll show up stronger for you and for your clients. If you're tuning into this podcast, it's likely because you've grown your business, but your team still depends on you for everything. You know, every woman in the Leadership Lab starts there too. The Leadership Lab gives you tools, coaching, and accountability to build a team that runs without you. No more hand-holding. You'll go from managing people to leading leaders, so you can focus on your highest valued work that you love doing. Don't go it alone. Join us by visiting stackingyourteam.com. I can't wait to support you. If today's episode helps you see your leadership in a new way, I'd love to hear about it. Come connect with me on Instagram, where I'm at Stacking Your Team, and tell me what's troubling you about your team right now. And hey, if you're tuning into this podcast because you work somewhere and you want to develop your leadership skills, I invite you to start following our sister company, Thousand Islands Leadership Consulting. Check us out on Instagram or LinkedIn so you can chart your course to the next level of leadership.
This is Ellie. Come back next Tuesday. My Mimi will have another episode for you.